Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. So, we've been one of the people that have been saying that, first of all, we believe that this GOAT debate is a media invention. In reality, we never thought that it was a real thing on this platform. A lot of people do. A lot of people feel that way, and they're entitled to feel that way. We're just not one of them, right? And that may have cost us some opportunities. And, because the way it works in media now is if you're willing to twerk it up, you're going to get yourself a nice bag, especially in the NBA space. People like to talk about, you talk about LeBron for clicks and do all of this nonsense. The people that are going to get deals and do all of that stuff and go far in this sports media game as it pertains to the NBA are those that are willing to get on their knees and kiss the ring. It's just that simple. So those of us out here who refuse to sell our souls for a bag and be up here lying, we're not getting any of those deals. And it has nothing to do with whether or not we're good or not. We're just not going to get them. So these guys running around here talking about, you're doing it for money and all. No, if I really was out for the money, I'd be up here lying to you guys, right? Like some of these people out here are doing. We're not doing that. I don't care. You can keep your money. You can shove it up your ass for all I care. But anyway, I've always said I don't feel like this thing is a real debate, right? But it's real in the mind of LeBron fans. It's really real in the mind of LeBron fans. And I remember recently when LeBron went on the Pat McAfee show, and Pat McAfee asked him about, do you and Jordan have a relationship? And he goes, no, we don't have a relationship, but I'd like to have one in the future. And he says, it's competition, right? Because I'm sure every time he hears my name, every time he hears his name, he's hearing LeBron's name, right? So he doesn't want to be close to that and all. This is what LeBron told himself to convince himself, when in reality, I believe that MJ never cared about this. I said it, I think yesterday on a live that we did. Every time I see Michael Jordan, he's on a 300, 400-foot yacht. For somebody that's supposed to be caring about this GOAT debate, he surely seems unbothered by it. So this morning I was going through looking for what to talk about, and I came across an article here with the headline saying, Ron Harper reveals Michael Jordan's true feelings about the GOAT debate with LeBron James. And I said, well, now we get to hear what the GOAT himself thinks about this GOAT debate. Let's start off with the report here. It says, NBA insider Brandon Scoop B. Robinson recently stated on the Basketball Society podcast that Michael Jordan is still in competition with LeBron James due to the GOAT debate. Robinson's comment came to the attention of Ron Harper, and he revealed that Jordan, his former teammate, does not care about the debate. MJ wouldn't give a shit about this BS. He has never cared for the GOAT talk and anything else. Jordan has never publicly proclaimed himself to be the best ever. He has even gone as far as to say you can't really call anyone the GOAT because you can't compare players from different eras. Jordan stated that all this talk is for PR and selling stories, and he has no interest in getting into this. James, on the other hand, has boldly declared that he is the best basketball player ever. These two sure have completely different ways of approaching this subject. Getting back to Robinson, this is what he had to say about the relationship between Jordan and James on the podcast. I think Michael and LeBron's conversation will enhance more when LeBron is toward the end, which could happen sooner rather than later, Robinson said. LeBron could win 2 more championships. He could. Whether that's in Los Angeles, whether he signs somewhere else, whether he gets traded. So I think LeBron's story is still being written, Robinson added. You don't want to give your competitor any type of advice to chase me, meaning Michael. James currently has this article is going to repeat all of the stuff that they normally do with the gargling and all that they do. This is a bunch of nonsense from beginning to end. Even what Brandon Scoop B is saying is nonsense. 100% nonsense. First of all, his teammate is saying he doesn't give a damn, and Jordan doesn't strike me as somebody that does. And the reason that Jordan, I believe, doesn't give a damn about having these pointless conversations is because he's secure in his legacy. He's not out to convince you of anything. The person is always talking about it, that has people in media constantly pushing this talking point, is the one that cares about it. These are the facts of the matter. That's number one. Number two, in the article, according to him, he said, I think Michael and LeBron's conversation will enhance more when LeBron is towards the end, which could happen sooner rather than later. LeBron could win. Then he says, so I think LeBron's story is still being written. You don't want to give your competitor any type of advice to chase me, meaning Michael. That's a lie. How do we know this? Because Michael Jordan was giving advice to Kobe Bryant all the way up to the point when Kobe won 4 championships. He was giving advice to Kobe. Kobe would constantly reach out to him and pick his brain about how to go about things. Kobe himself said that. And when we saw Michael Jordan at Kobe Bryant's memorial, he discussed this. He already said it. So what is this thing of, oh, he's a competitor? What is this thing? You know, the guy that they were comparing to Jordan in 2010 when he won his 5th championship? The guy that they were comparing in terms of Kobe and Jordan? That guy? Well, Jordan was fully aware of that. But nevertheless, he still welcomed Kobe with open arms. So what is this thing about, oh, we're competitors? Maybe, just maybe, the reason Jordan and LeBron don't have this relationship has nothing to do with competitors. Maybe Jordan just don't rock out with LeBron. How about that? How about that's not his cup of tea? You ever thought about that? Nah, because you don't want to think about that, because then it bursts your bubble. These guys create false realities and live in them. And then what they try to do is rope us in their nonsense. That's what they're trying to do. They create these false sense of, oh, this is what it's all made up, mumbo jumbo, all made up. They do this to console themselves, because if they stare reality in the face, reality says he don't rock with you. That's what reality says. Did you see them at the 75th anniversary? Do you see how hype LeBron was to see Jordan and actually talk about it? He gave him a dap and he was up out of there. He was rocking out with other dudes, talking to his homies from his era, putting Luka Doncic in bear hugs and all of that kind of stuff. But no, it's because they're knock it off. Stop this delusion. Please stop it. Enough with these guys and their delusion. Oh, it's because, they're competitors and Jordan wouldn't talk to anybody. But we got Kobe to prove that. We got Kobe to prove it. So what now? So we were looking for what to discuss here today, and then Mitch sent me over a topic here from the Dunk Central that was centered on some comments that former ESPN staff member Zach Lowe had to make about the Lakers 2020 title run. And what Zach Lowe was doing was essentially crying about the fact that people don't respect the 2020 championship ring. That because it was LeBron James that won it. But had it been anybody else, oh my God, they'll be calling it the greatest thing since sliced bread. So he's up here crying about that, about why people won't give LeBron his love and all of this stuff. Let's get into this. The 2020 campaign was it was the strangest season we have ever seen, for obvious reasons. Going into that bubble, there were murmurs about certain teams that didn't even want to go. Right? They didn't want to go. I think they held a vote or something like that, and LeBron and them decided to go. But I heard that they didn't want to go for safety concerns and all of that. It was unprecedented circumstances. And when those players entered the bubble, we started seeing things that we hadn't, like crazy things. Insane numbers that Jamal Murray was putting up, Donovan Mitchell was putting up. You would have thought that they had Michael Jordan and these guys up in there, Kobe Bryant and these guys up in there, right? They're like, when did these guys get so good all of a sudden? And you had a situation where there were no fans. There was no travel. It was just basically these guys staying at a hotel and going back and forth and playing games. So the Lakers found a way to get to the finals. And who did they end up facing in the NBA Finals? The Miami Heat, which was an absolutely depleted team. I think they had Iguodala on the team. Goran Dragic was their leading scorer. Just think about that. Goran Dragic was the leading scorer on that team. Then he got hurt. Then I think Jimmy Butler had like a twisted end. It was one of the most disgusting finals we had ever seen, and the ratings certainly showed that. So the Lakers ended up winning that title. And at the end, nobody cared because they were like, these are not normal circumstances. And look at who you played in the finals. Look at who you played. Like, it's ridiculous. There were no fans, nothing like that. So people always kind of had an asterisk around that particular championship, right? But LeBron fans and his supporters and media and all of that always liked to elevate it, but people never respected it. And one of the people that never respected, or rather the group of people that never respected it, are Laker fans. Laker fans don't even view that as a real championship, which is interesting. They never got a parade, and I think we heard about a year ago that Jeannie Buss was considering holding a parade for the championship in 2020. We're like, what? And what are you even talking about? So then I came across these comments, and in these comments you can hear Zach Lowe just basically crying his heart out that nobody respects LeBron. All right, so let's get into what it says here. It says, if any other team and any other superstar had won that title, there would be none of this crap. Every team went there under the same circumstances. Every team, same challenges, same circumstances, same hotels, same travel circumstances. What travel circumstances? Where did they travel to? From one room to the next? From the room to the restaurant? From the restaurant to the pool? What travel is this guy talking about? One team won. Yes, that's how it usually works. And yet we continue to hear this. I think it's totally legit. It's different. That kind of makes it cool to me. What? It's a real title. Stop disparaging it, everybody. It's a real title. Look, if it was a real title, you wouldn't have to tell people to stop disparaging it. If you're the real McCoy, you don't have to beg people to tell you. It's literally that simple. If you are the real McCoy, you don't run around trying to get the approval of people. You know it's real. But these guys know inherently that it's not. Even what were LeBron's words when he won the championship? What was his words? He said what? And this guy wants this guy wants that, and I want my respect too. Can you imagine saying that after you just won an NBA championship, that you want your respect? Wouldn't that championship warrant your respect? Or warrant respect from others towards you? So even he at that moment knew, like, bro, do y'all see this? Don't nobody care. Like, ain't nobody rocking with this. Laker fans don't respect it. And the question is, why should they? Why are you trying to elicit this emotion and get people in agreement with you? Oh, like, come on, get on board. Why? They don't respect it. They don't respect it. There are other things that people, for example, people value LeBron's run in 2016. People value that. They value that because it was an incredible run. So it's not like people are averse for giving this guy respect. There are people like, he won that title. That title. In 2012, they won the title. I think in 2013, they won the title. Nobody's taking these titles away from him. But that was an unusual circumstance. And then you find yourself in the finals playing against the Miami. Did you see that starting five that they were playing with? And people are supposed to look at this and say, well, yeah, this is a legitimate title. Really? 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 Is this what we're saying? So people don't feel that way. And to me, this is yet another example of these guys out here trying to push the LeBron propaganda. Why does LeBron have so many people begging and crying for him in media? Why can't your career, your stats, your record, why can't that speak for you? Why do we constantly have people begging for you every single day? Trying to convince people, putting out ridiculous polls and all of these rankings. Why are we here 23 years later and we're still trying to convince fans? Why? That alone should tell you a lot, folks. That should tell you a lot. A lot. Today a video was sent to me from Mitch, who works here with us, about something that Charles Barkley recently had to say on The Ringer when he was talking to Bill Simmons. What Charles Barkley was talking about was essentially the same thing we discussed 2 days ago on our channel, where we were reacting to some comments that Mark Cuban made on Gil's Arena. And essentially what they were talking about is the current state of affairs around the way the NBA goes about its business. and how it's structured itself with all of these various streaming platforms. As you guys know, the NBA just inked an extension for a $77 billion deal with a bunch of various streaming platforms. You have some cable networks like ESPN paying them $2.8 billion per annum. I think you have Peacock, you have Amazon as well. And what they've decided to do was they took their entire inventory and broke it up between all of these platforms. So if you want to watch all of their games, you essentially have to be signed up to multiple platforms just to watch the NBA. Now, I don't know if the NBA pays attention to its average consumer's income and what's going on in the States for them to think that people have this disposable income to just be signing up to all of these platforms for people to watch the games. Clearly, they didn't care about that. And Mark Cuban thinks that the NBA is making a serious mistake by doing this. So what we want to quickly do is play what Mark Cuban had to say from a former owner's perspective, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to his comments here on Gil's Arena.
What do you see as the biggest opportunities and challenges for the NBA over the next decade?
I think the whole media space is really funky, right? That social media is more of a connection to fans. Like, particularly with the NBA, kids today are more fans of the players than they are the teams. Like when we grew up, you're a Lakers fan, right? I'm a Steelers fan. I'm a Pirates fan. All Pittsburgh teams, right? Now it's just like you see Steph, and Steph comes to town, and there's a ton of kids with Steph jerseys on. That wasn't going to happen 10 years ago, pre-social media. So I think, trying to monetize and recognize that, social media is going to change and impact how we market our players, market our teams, and market our product. I think the fact that private equity is buying into so many teams, I think is a problem because, for the first 20 years that I was an owner, I and other owners too would be pushing that fan experience, make it affordable. Now it's all about valuations, and so everybody just, if you're a private equity and you have investors in these things called special purpose vehicles, all you want to do is the value of the team to go up. And if you're trying to just jack up ticket prices, jack up costs, jack up merchandise sales, that's not necessarily best for fans. And so I think fans are getting priced out. So I think that's an issue. I think, the ultimate business question for the NBA is how will our games impact streaming subscriptions for our new streaming partners? Because one of the reasons these numbers went up so high is Peacock streaming, I think it was them, they did a deal with the NFL, like one special deal for like a playoff game, and got like a zillion new subscribers.
I was one of them.
Right, and everybody is betting that's what's going to happen. If there's a lot of churn or we don't get those subscriptions for those partners, it's going to be tough for them right? And so I think that's a big issue. But in terms of the players themselves, the NBA is in good hands. In terms of the quality of the game, the NBA is in good shape. In terms of taking it to Europe, like, I think for the whole time I was there, I was like, why are we giving our best players to the Olympics so that Comcast can make money and the Olympic Committee can make, because the NBA players were for the Summer Olympics, the NBA players were the draw, right? Why are we giving it free? Why don't we create our own World Cup and do like soccer did, right? For the Olympics, 23 and under, great. But let's play Slovenia against, all the different countries and own it. It would be enormous. It would be the biggest basketball event ever. And David Stern and then Adam were like, that's not our deal with FIBA and we can't do it. And I think, now they're trying to put teams in Europe to find a new way to raise revenues and margins and everything. And I think it'll do okay, but they're missing the big opportunity.
Excellent. So you heard what he had to say. So he sends me this clip of Charles Barkley, as I said. Now, if you know anything about Charles Barkley, he's not one to bite his tongue, and he's going to say things exactly the way he feels. And I think that's what sets him apart from virtually everybody talking sports, but particularly anybody talking NBA. So Charles Barkley goes on the Ringer, and he essentially said the NBA just gave its fans the middle finger, and they don't give a bleep about the NBA fans. Take a listen to what Charles Barkley had to say to Bill Simmons on the Ringer here. Take a listen to his comments.
I think the NBA's got a big problem. How are regular fans gonna like, okay, it's Tuesday, especially when they start putting games
where
on.
do I go?
Well, like, because, sometimes the game's gonna be on Peacock. and like it's not going to be on NBC. I think that's a huge dilemma for the NBA.
Guess what? They don't care.
I
They
agree.
got
took
so
the
much money. They're going to wipe their tears with cash.
Bill, I'm so glad you said that. I think it's a big deal because they just took all the money from all three networks. I don't think they give a about the fans. And I think this is going to come back to bite them, to be honest with you. And then the thing that's scary, this deal is for 11 years.
Right.
So now people can complain all they want to. For the next 11 years, they don't give a about the fans. They're like, y'all, if y'all find the games, fine. Just make sure the check clears.
So you heard what he had to say. What are my thoughts about this? Who disagrees with him? Who disagrees with him? I think he's speaking the honest gospel. Now, here's what's interesting. And this thought just occurred to me as we're doing this together. Usually, what happens is a lot of these former players and current, especially former players, they are all for whatever makes the most money. The current crop of players in the NBA, the Kevin Durant's and all of them, they don't really value fans. They just look at you guys like an ATM machine. Give me your money and shut up. It's one of the reasons why they don't even feel you should have an opinion on the sport that you pay. And just can you imagine that? You heard the comments that Dwayne Wade made? They believe that you shouldn't even be allowed to have an opinion on it. It's like you walking into a restaurant and you have one of these top chefs that work in there and you ask him for a steak and you're like, well, I didn't really like it. Shut up and eat your steak. You don't know what goes into making a steak. It's like, bro, I just paid for it. And given the fact that this steak ain't free, I have a right to give you feedback whether you like it or not. If I go stay in a hotel and you're supposed to be a 5-star hotel and some of your amenities are not up to par, your room service is not up to par, etc., 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 I'm going to talk. And you don't get to walk up to the customer and say, well, you don't own a hotel. What do you know about hospitality? You don't get to have an opinion on this. Who says this except crazed NBA players? Who else says this? Who goes out there and insults their consumers? But these guys. Not only are they out of touch, most of them are stupid. It's a fact. If these guys weren't playing basketball, God forbid what would have happened. Because one of the most fundamental things about business is your customers and ensuring that they're happy. This is a basic concept. But when you have guaranteed contracts and you know that people are going to show up regardless, then you get you get this kind of behavior from these guys. Oh, you don't deserve to have an opinion. If you never play, sit your ass down. You wouldn't even be where you are if we didn't give a damn about the sport you play. You would be playing at a park, a ruck up, or wherever it is, shooting hoops. If people didn't think the NBA was fun to watch, you wouldn't matter. This is what these guys forget. It's almost as if they feel like we're only here because of our yeah, your talent plays a role, but if people don't value it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's all about the perceived value and entertainment. But to turn around and try to lecture NBA fans, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't get your opinion. I don't need to be a professional basketball player, play collegiately or whatever it is to have an opinion about something I'm patronizing. If I'm spending my money, I get the right to have an opinion. I get the right. That's the trade-off. If I'm using my dollars, and last time I checked, I didn't steal my money and I'm working for it, then I have a right to have an opinion. And it'll be better if you shut up. How about that? And risk alienating your consumers. How about that concept? How about you shut up and respect the fans? What a concept. So I'm bringing it up to say, usually NBA players will be all for it. But Charles, who's a former player, is calling these guys out. Because yes, the NBA is making goo-gobs worth of money. But at what cost? At what cost is what he's saying. Charles seems like a real person. These guys just live in a bubble. In a bubble. It's like, go outside and put your hand on the ground, bro. Take off your shoes and walk on the earth. Let your feet touch the earth. Get off your high horse. Come back down to reality. And what kills me is that most of these guys come from poverty. They get to the level that they are and they forget, like as if they were never poor. They forget what the common man goes through. And they now turn into certified divas. Certified divas. It's unheard of. It is unheard of.